Jr., and I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in the year 1933 during the Depression period. My education level would be elementary at St. Peter Claver's Academy, and then moving from from Corpus Christi to St. Peter Claver's in New Orleans, leaving there to Booker T. Washington, which is a public high school. St. Peter Claver and Corpus Christi, of course, were Catholic schools. And after attending Booker T. Washington, which was a public school, graduated and went to Xavier University on a scholarship, fine arts scholarship, not an art education scholarship, but a fine arts scholarship. And I attended school there for 3 years. Then I went to Fort Bragg because I was interested in becoming a paratrooper. I became a paratrooper and acquiring about 30 jumps from the C-119 boxcar. It wasn't too difficult because we had pretty rigorous training. We had to jump from a tower, and this tower, of course, had us jump in a harness. It's very similar to the way people did the bungee jumping, but we had a harness on us and we had to jump from this 18-foot tower into space. When I came out, I went right back to the university. I went to school. In Louisiana, you had to have a certain amount of units in order to teach in the schools. At that particular time, we didn't have too many options. You know, I majored in fine arts, but I could have gone into fashion illustration. I could have gone into graphic arts. I could have gone into several of the other fields, commercial art, commercial technique. But those things were not available here. So my next thing, I thought about California. I first started getting interested in art when I was in high school. Well, I used to do a lot of sketching at home. I closed myself in the bedroom. My brother used to do the same thing. And we closed ourselves in our bedroom, and we would sit down and we would just I would do a lot of doodling and sketching. And I had an uncle who was an excellent artist. Of course, he didn't practice it. He really went to a school of cosmetology where they taught tonsorial barbering, he started working in a tonsorial parlor we call the barbershop. And in doing so, of course, he got away from that. He didn't have an interest, but I think his work really surpasses the kind of work that I'm doing right now, and all he did was draw. My favorite artist, believe it or not, is from my hometown. I used to love Pablo Picasso, but my favorite artist is Edgar Degas. I like him because I've seen so many different usage of different kinds. Good in sculpture, outstanding in pastel. He was just supra outstanding in pastel. Well, growing up in New Orleans, of course, during those times, you know, it was very, I would say, not tiring. I would call it. It was very difficult in the sense that we had so many conflicting issues, you know, with regarding race.
Parks boarded a bus.
One main thing was, of course, riding on the bus and the streetcars. We had to, if we got on the streetcar or the bus, of course, we had to sit behind the sign, you know, it says for colored only. We did that, and along with that, in terms of going to places, using restrooms and everything, they wouldn't allow us to use. And we was discriminated in the sense that we were to go into certain stores, you know, you wouldn't be allowed to try on hats, you know, because I guess they felt that we had greasy heads or whatever. When Dr. King got assassinated, I mean, it's a very difficult feeling to express how I felt, and I'm sure
We say to him,
a lot of other people, because we felt that he was an asset to our race. He was a very knowledgeable theologian, and he was an excellent model for the black race. my brother Ferdinand went to, when he had to march on Washington, my brother Ferdinand, who was a writer, he participated in the march, and it was just something. The feeling was so great. It's very hard to be explicit in terms of particulars when it comes to how I felt about his death. And we were able to go to Atlanta and see his tomb, you know, in Atlanta. But along with him, and of course Obama becoming president, you know, those are some of the highlights of my life at this time in terms of heralding outstanding blacks to contribute to our culture and our race. Election, it was one of the greatest feelings I had in my lifetime, because during the primaries, I watched every last primary. I didn't know who he was until he started speaking and everything. And his being such a prolific speaker, such an outstanding orator, and such a knowledgeable senator, you know, just listening to him speak gave me a lot of impetus to want to do better as a black person.
A good old grandpa chuckle.
You want a grandpa chuckle?
If you want revolution, the old revolution evolve. If you're getting off track and you want to get back, may take a lot of work to break your back. If you want revolution, the old